If you've been the reliable one, the task keeper, the emotional and operational temperature regulator for your household for years, this conversation is going to hit. Today, we're talking about what it really means to be in quicksand. Essentially, that stage of life where you've said yes to the house, the career, the kids, and the marriage, and suddenly you're managing everything else but you. In this episode, Lisa Woodruff and I unpack why overwhelming isn't a personal failure, it's a systems failure, and how planning, operational support, and redefining perfectionism can finally give you breathing room again. Enjoy. Hey, y'all, I'm your host, Courtney Cecil, and welcome back to the Life Management System. Inside this episode, I'm excited to host Lisa Woodruff. Lisa is the author of several organizing books and the podcast host of Organize 365. She is a serial entrepreneur and also the mom of a son with ADHD. So she very well knows the importance and struggles of building organization systems. She is about to launch her latest book. It launches June 23rd. I'll, of course, link that in the show notes, but that is called Escaping Quicksand 10 Steps to Overcome the Overwhelm of Modern Home Life. So you can very quickly deduce why she made the perfect guest for the life management system. Lisa was actually put on my radar by a friend who listens to both of us and saw so many parallels between our context. That friend was losing her mom at the time, unfortunately, and she just shared that Lisa was exactly the voice she needed to fill that void that she was no longer getting from her mom. So I think she's a beautiful match. I'm confident you will too. Lisa, welcome to the life management system.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start, Lisa. I want to orient most of this around your book, one, to help you promote it, but most especially because I think it's wildly applicable to most of the listeners. So let's zoom out for a second and start with the highest level concept and introduce this notion of quicksand. So you make the point that adults sink into quicksand as they experience the complexities of modern life. Goodness knows there's plenty of them. And in doing so, that naturally sucks up all of their available time and leaves them where they are just feeling somewhat suffocated and that they don't have any breathing room. So, what does quicksand in your terminology actually look like for the modern working woman today? And most especially, how do we know the difference between being all up in that quicksand and sinking to just being busy because it's the stage of life we're in?
Yeah. And I don't get anxious, but I'm feeling anxious as you're talking. And now I'm going to talk about quicksand. So if you're going to listen to this podcast episode, just commit that you're going to listen to the whole thing, because I don't want you to be like, oh my gosh, I was so full of anxiety that I turned the podcast off. Please, please, please. We will bring you out of the quicksand, but we do have to go down there first. So we were talking before we started about your audience is mostly working women and specifically working moms. So all of them are in quicksand. Like, you're all in quicksand, and I know it. I was not able to work in corporate while I had children. I was a stay-at-home mom for a month, and then I went back to teaching for 18 months and ended up quitting my job because I just couldn't manage home and family. But now I've created systems that help you do both. And I found that most women by the end of their 30s are like up to their neck in quicksand, like all of us, no matter what our family composition is. And either you find systems to help you get out of that quicksand, or you literally stay in quicksand the rest of your life. Like, those are your options. Find a system and get out, or this is the rest of your life. And so what I've determined is that in our 20s and 30s, we say yes to a lot of things that are great and awesome. Houses, spouses, kids, and careers. And sometimes we say yes to all four. And then you end up in your late 30s and your early 40s, and all of these yeses have time and money attached to them. And they get more and more complex as your leadership ability grows. So babies become teenagers, and house mortgages don't go away, and careers, you accelerate in your career, and, spouses, you have to keep up the magic in the marriage. So you end up in your late 30s with a lot of responsibilities and no extra time. And you just feel like, how in the heck am I going to do this all? And for me personally, what I realized I had done was I had prioritized everything except for myself, and I had nothing left to give. And then what do? Like, a spa weekend is not going to solve that problem. You have to really reverse engineer. How did you give up all of your agency? How did you stop caring for yourself like you care for everyone else around you? And how can you, in a minimal amount of time, but intentionally put yourself back on the priority list so that you could fill your own cup so that you can, pour out of that into everybody else. All these cliches that we say are so true, but how do we actually do it? And escaping quicksand is how we actually do it.
I love that you use the language, Lisa. Like you say yes to everything because you prioritize everything but yourself. So the thread that I tend to pull in here a lot, and that is the most foundational thing I teach, is that when you're clear on what you value, you then know what to prioritize. And when you know what to prioritize, you know how to spend your time, money, and energy. So you talked about time and money, and I think energy actually is something we'll pull on a lot later in the conversation, because it is
Yeah.
something that that when you talk about capacity and things like that, it's they're part and parcel. It's somewhat the same. And your language around finding systems to get out, clearly that speaks to my industrial and systems engineering brain and the core of the life management system. So, okay, so you pull yourself out of quicksand. You don't depend on the spa trips to get out of it. Let's talk about the how. Like your hallmark quote in your promotional material for this book is that the question women are asking is, how do I do it all? Instead of asking, like, how do I care for myself so that I can do it all? So knowing that most of the listeners are very achievement based, and
Mhm.
that your guidance is like shifting that thinking a little bit to capacity based, like walk us through what that thought process might look like, because most of them are probably wired to perform and are, you've got their attention now, but they're waiting for that next step. Like how would you walk them through where to go from here?
Yeah, I guess what I was doing in my late 30s, early 40s, really, and through my entire 40th decade was prioritizing tasks and prioritizing what other people wanted me to do above what would have helped me do everything faster. Like in my 40s, I really realized that my energy is best in the morning through early afternoon, and it's terrible in the evening. So when I would say I would do something for somebody in the evening, it would take me 2 to 3 times as long as it would if I'd have done it at 9 o'clock in the morning. So even the things that you're saying yes to, if you can shift them when your energy is best, and really just asking and thinking about what do you need? And there are honestly a lot of things we need by the time we're in quicksand. By the time we're in quicksand, we have lost so much of who we are and what we need that we don't even remember anymore. So I'm going to give you some tips. If you have children, think about what you provide for your children and then just ask yourself, are you also providing that for yourself? So when you have a weekend available and you're going to take back the house and you clean out the kids' toy room and their bedrooms, when was the last time you cleaned out your bedroom? When was the last time you cleaned out your closet? And to be honest, if you spent that weekend and you let the kids watch TV and have fast food and you cleaned out your closet and your bedroom, the next 3 months would go so much better for you. And the kids' toy room in their bedroom is going to be trashed the next weekend anyway. So things like that, like when you're packing your kids a nutritious lunch, which at our school, they would check what was in it. So we had to buy the museum apple that we would buy every week that they would
Oh
throw
my
away
gosh.
when they brought it home because they were checking it all the time. But what are we eating? We're eating like whatever we can grab the fastest, or oh yeah, I forgot to eat, so I'll just grab a cheese stick on the way out the door. Like as you're planning your kids' meals, plan your meals. As you're filling their water bottle, fill your water bottle. As you're giving them a bath, draw your bath. Like just even duplicate what you're doing for your children, and already you're going to be starting to give yourself some self-care. So I've redefined self-care. I'm getting my PhD now. In my 50s, I went back to school. I'm just about to be done with my PhD in applied psychology. And so I was asking the professor, I said, in developmental education, what are the stages of adult development? And she's like, well, there aren't any. And I was like, okay, this is such a problem. But also, when we take from that, there's no definition of self-care. Like self-care is what? A bubble bath? Like, what do you think of when you think of self-care? And I was like, okay, well, self-care is what happens after childcare and before elder care. So in childcare, you take care of a child's clothing, their food, where they live, and same you would for an elder if you were caring for your parents or your grandparents. But you also do more than that. Like you also provide for their education and their entertainment and their spiritual well-being and an emotional outlet and their relational needs. And yet, as soon as we leave our childhood home, until apparently we go into a home of our own, all that time you're in self-care. So you have to provide that for yourself. That's what self-care is, providing for yourself what your parents used to provide for you. And we are not doing it.
That's so important. So you use the language in your book, operational support. I was like, ooh, that makes so much sense because we're not even granting ourselves permission to take care of the basics, let alone
Right.
like to your point, the bubble bath is that superfluous like dream that, we'll get to when the kids are out of the house. But like, gosh, we're not
Yeah.
even giving ourselves the core. So I talk a lot about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I believe
Hmm.
that most, especially in corporations, we really foul up the way that we approach learning because we fast forward to the top of Maslow's hierarchy. So essentially, how do we help somebody be at their absolute best to reach that form of self-actualization? But as you're suggesting, Lisa, we're ignoring the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy. We are essentially saying, that none of that matters. It doesn't matter that you're not getting sufficient sleep. It doesn't matter that you don't feel safe or that you feel like your life's out of control. How do you learn this really technical skill so you're going to be an awesome practitioner? So there's this gap in
Hmm.
how we build our own operational infrastructure that certainly that crumbles. It's that that adult self-care, as you coin it, is just it's the practical survival that we're ignoring. This we're not asking for a lot. We're just asking for like practical foundational needs.
So I love that you bring up Maslow's hierarchy of needs because I've talked about that. And then we're also going to, if I don't forget, we're going to talk about sheets and ladders. Okay. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs starts with your basic survival needs. In a household, you have to start at that level. Like you need a house, you need food, you need shelter, you need laundry, and then you build from there. In a business, you start with those already mastered. Like, and you're able to self actualize at work. It's actually nearly impossible to self actualize at home because of Chutes and Ladders. So, if you remember the game Chutes and Ladders, where you'd be going along the blocks and you get to go up the stairs and then you'd hit the slide and you'd have to slide back down. Well, if you look at that board of Chutes and Ladders, there are 100 squares. So, let's imagine you're 100 years old. So, every square is a year. There'll be times in your life where you can climb up the ladder and you're like at a higher level in the board. But then you get COVID and you slide down a little bit, or you lose a job and you slide down a little bit. And so you keep going back down in the chutes and ladders, and you're never actually able to get to the top. And that's how I feel it is in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. As soon as the whole entire family has the flu, you're back down at the bottom of that pyramid again. Getting all the laundry done, getting everyone healthy. Okay, now we're healthy and well. We're done to level 2. We go up to level 3. Oh, shoot, we've got to do this. We've got to do this. And it's usually the woman that keeps bouncing all the way back to the very bottom of Maslow's hierarchy and making sure the whole household has their basic needs met. And she doesn't have enough time and capacity to self actualize at home. And that's what Organize 365 does. We give you the time and the capacity and the systems so that you have to struggle with what you're uniquely gifted and created to do because I give you so much time at home to do it.
I love that. And you also talked right before we got, I love the shoots and ladders example. Very, very visual. And I appreciate that. And you talked right before that about how a lot of the reason we find ourselves like continuing to slide backwards is because we are in this place of prioritizing tasks and other people's
Yes.
to-dos as opposed to protecting our own energy. And that is something that I just firmly believe in. I believe that, energy management is one of the most precious things we can do. And I have an episode on
Mhm.
that that I'll link in the show notes, but also that most of us don't need more productivity hacks. As you're saying,
Right.
Lisa, we need to better protect our time and energy because that is a depleting resource. And if if you feel yourself in this like low simmer resentment all the time that you're carrying all this stuff for other people, it could be that boundaries can help. I will link this in the show notes as well. I have a 3-minute self-check quiz around boundaries. So if you feel like that you're leaking energy and time other places, that might be something that can very quickly help you too. So, okay, let's move on, Lisa, to this concept of Swiss cheese organizing. It sounds curious, like it makes me perk up. I'm quite curious. Help us understand what it is and why high achieving women fall into that trap so easily.
Yeah. So I firmly believe we do not have an effort problem in our households. We have an order of operations problem in our households. So we as women come home and we walk in the house. And we're like, oh my gosh, the family room, the kitchen are a mess, the entryway, the kids' rooms, the toy room. Like, all right, we're going to take back this house. Everybody scattered. We're going to get all these spaces cleaned up. You get to Sunday night. You're like, okay, that's good. We reset the house. We're going to go hit school and work all week long. And then you come back the next Saturday and you do it again and again and again and again. This is Swiss cheese organizing. You're organizing spaces that do not stay organized, and you're only organizing spaces that people see when they come over. And I don't have people at my house. If you have people at your house, I mean, yeah, okay, you've got to organize these spaces. I think what would be better is you take a 6-week period of time and you do what I call proactive procrastination. And you say that for this period of time, plan procrastination. I am not going to clean the family room or the toy room or the kids' rooms for 6 weeks. And then during that time, you're going to organize spaces that no one sees, but once they're organized, will help you. Take a weekend and do your closet and do your bedroom. Take another weekend and do the storage room. Let me just tell you, when you organize the storage room the way I organize the storage room, I call it a prepaid store. Everything's on shelves. So it does cost some money. You have to go buy some Home Depot shelving. You've got to buy some clear totes. But once you organize your storage room this way, it will stay organized forever. You literally can move from house to house to house, and the storage room will stay organized. And once you take this 6-week proactive procrastination, you're not going to be doing all the extra things in the house. It is going to look like a bomb cyclone hit your house. Who cares? Week 7, go through. You're going to get it organized again. If your storage room is organized, your bedroom and bathroom are organized, your home office is organized, aren't you going to feel so much better? And then keep taking more periods of time. We're doing another 6 weeks. I'm going to do all the paper. I'm going to do all this. And when you do it in this order, you end up with the whole house organized, except for those areas, because they're never going to stay organized. You're always going to have to do them every couple of weeks when your kids are younger. And then your whole house will be organized when you're done on Sunday, because the places you see that other people don't see will stay organized.
So what I hear you saying when I boil that down, Lisa, is you're essentially saying, like, if you build systems, they become sustainable. And, instead of you're calling the time out from living in these perfectionist tendencies where you are essentially doing things more for other people than you are yourself. So you shake that out, you shake the need to feel like you're always performing for others to uphold this brand or this perception that others have of you. And instead, you're taking care of your core inner needs. And then when you build those systems, it builds so much sustainability that allows you to then, like, the friction that you have in your life allows you to more easily manage the visible stuff that others can see. So you're essentially accelerating to a point where all of a sudden you're able to maintain and manage all of it, as opposed to only managing those very visible open places.
Yeah. And if you put that in like a corporate setting, like the higher leader that you see in a corporation, like I'm thinking of some of the people I know in some of the bigger corporations in the world, like they never seem harried. They don't have things falling off of them when they're walking in places. They walk into the meeting, they're prepared for the meeting, they leave, they actually follow up on what they say they're going to do. Like they have excellent systems and they've grown their capacity over time to be able to lead larger and larger and larger organizations. You have to imagine that their systems behind them are really supporting that. And we as women are all running households, and household spending accounts for 68% of US GDP. So we are all running an economic entity to begin with. So every single working woman, paid, not paid, we're all doing the household job. So if you also have a business that you've grown like I have, I'm running 2 businesses. If you're working for a corporation, you're working in a corporation and you're running your own household business. This is why it doesn't appear that women are getting further ahead, because they're all managing 2 entities at least. And then if you have parents that need your help, often you're helping them and you're running that entity. If you have adult children, you might be running that entity. So you are running multiple households that contribute to the economics of the world. And so I was on a male podcast and I explained this to him because, he's saying unpaid labor, stay-at-home mom. I was like, yeah, well, whatever income is on the P&L, like your tax statement, that is the amount of business she is managing. He goes, well, we all earn $300,000 a year in our profession. I was like, great. So all these stay-at-home moms are managing $300,000 businesses. His mind was blown. He was like, are you kidding me? I was like, well, who's deciding where the money's going? Who's recirculating that into the economy? Who's deciding what's gets purchased? She is. Like, great.
She's running the P&L.
Yay!
She owns the P&L of the house.
She is running. Yeah. and also, right? Probably contributing to the school and the community and bringing in some extra money. And like, women have always run the world. We have always run the world because we've always run the households. Like, we don't need to stand on our chair and beat our chest, but we are doing a lot, paid, unpaid, whatever. We are how the world is moving, how children are raised. Like, we are making a lot of important decisions. So when you think about it that way, okay, now let's come back to the household. If you were to step into someone else's household, like you were coming in as power of attorney or handling that estate, what are you going to do first? And how are you going to get a handle on managing that household as the leader of that household? You aren't going to organize the family room. You're going to go find the papers. You're going to get a good information system going. You're going to figure out the budgets. You're going to go take an inventory of everything that is there. And then you're going to figure out how you're going to actually run that household. We need to approach our households in the same way you approach business because we are business.
Yep. Amen. I love the positioning there. I also have never thought of it as the if the woman is staying at home, they are essentially the P&L leader of the
Yep.
house. That's genius.
Yep.
So
And yet there are zero systems for people who live in houses. There are bazillion systems for people who live in business, but we run our households with zero operational systems that you could buy from a store or go to a college and get. Like, you have to create it from scratch. That's why I've created the systems I've created, because every single person runs their household differently because they had to create their own operational system. Like, it really is amazing how households are run.
Yeah.
Organically.
Yeah. And I think that you make an important point that everybody does run their household differently. So when you put a system in place, this is why I created the life management system. My point of view in building a life management system is all the pieces are built around your individual needs and circumstances, because yours, Lisa, with a son with ADHD is different than mine with who knows, this could be true about your family too, but like with my husband who is in business development and works every night, or me in corporate who travel 70% of my job. Like, all of our needs are in circumstances are somewhat unique to us. So the systems have to be built around what works for us and our family. But the bottom line is, in order to make it sustainable, you still need the systems. Like, that's the common thread.
Yeah. Well, and it's going to change. I mean, are you still traveling 70% of the time with corporate?
No, not now.
See,
To your
so you've
point,
got a new
exactly.
So you've got, just like you would do quarterly planning and annual reviews at work, you should be doing quarterly planning and annual reviews at home, because the constituents change, the P&L changes, the time allocation, the energy, the amount that you are managing changes, your energy level and wellness changes. Like, you need to regularly check in and maintain your systems and upgrade them as your life continues to evolve and grow.
Yep. Amen. So how much of the system do you believe is invisible to the men in our world? I'm gonna just put it out there that plainly, because I am hypothesizing that is something that you have experienced, for whether it be for yourself or your clients, Lisa. So how can we externalize some of that invisible work that tends to just weigh us down?
So first of all, I think it's invisible to us. It's invisible to us. So of course it's invisible to our spouses. And just in the things that we've talked about organization. That's one kind of work, like organizing your house. We've talked about, or maybe we haven't yet, household management, which would be paying bills or calendaring. That's another kind of work. Housework is another kind of work, laundry, dishes, getting the food. Then there's maintenance of the house. Like, there are all these different works that we do. So if you think about your house like you would a business, you wouldn't be like, okay, so how do you make visible all the invisible work of this business to someone new coming into work? It would be impossible. You say, well, what do you want me to do first? Marketing, sales, finance, operations? What do you want me to show them first? So I think we need to recognize for ourselves, we do so much and we've kind of created the systems around us from scratch in our own unique way, that they're invisible to us as well. So if you want to teach something to a new employee, you have to first know what the heck is it that you're going to teach them, like just like you would a job description. So that's number one. Number two, yes, women, I mean, I've read thousands and thousands of studies on housework, and women do more than men. Like, that is not even a discussion. They definitely do more than men. However, if you want to invite a man into a conversation about doing more at home, there are a couple of different ways to do it. Number one, You could say, here's all the work that I'm doing, my big long list. You're now doing half, and good luck. That's not a good way to do it. It's turning into a lot of divorce. Or you could say, okay, here are all the things that I'm doing. I really want you to do this one thing. Here's the way that I did it. I don't care how you do it, but you get it done. Here's how I did it. 10 years ago, our kids were in high school. I was driving 25 hours a week. I started Organize 365. And so I was doing in-home professional organizing. The kids were in 2 different schools. I like fast food. So I was eating fast food. They were eating fast food. I was also going to the grocery store and buying food that we then threw away, which was pointless to me because we didn't have the money. So one day, my husband comes home from work and I said, I don't go to the grocery store anymore. This is before there was like delivery of stuff from the store. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, here's the thing. I go to the store, which I don't have time to do. I bring the food home. We don't eat it. We throw it away. We don't have the money for this. And I don't have the time or money or inclination. I don't do this anymore. And I also don't cook anymore. He was like, well, how are we going to have food in the house? I said, well, you have a car, a credit card, and you know where the store is. And he was like, okay. And for 10 years, I have not gone to the store. Now, I don't eat fast food now, and I do order my meals or whatever, but we're all adults now. We order what we get. So I literally just abdicated my role of food one day because I just couldn't do it anymore. So that's another way where you could just say, you know what? I don't do laundry anymore, or I don't do whatever. Like the thing that you can no longer do as long as you don't care, just be like, I don't do this thing anymore. But if you are the CEO of a household and you are running this economic entity and you've been running it for decades and you know all the pieces and parts, how in the heck could a new person new to the job with their lunch pail in hand take over your entire role? They couldn't. Like you have to be able to figure out what it is, explain what it is, hire the person for the job, and then let them do it their way because they're not going to do it your way. And you can get a lot of buy-in. My husband does more than half of the work at the home now because I don't know, I've slowly abdicated pretty much everything because I want to grow Organize 365, but it took me 10 years to do it. And we stayed married while I did it. So I call that a win.
Yeah, well, you should feel very proud of that. I absolutely agree. And I think that there's inherently the women's brain is just wired differently than the man. So there's something just biological that we have to honor there. But I do believe that the more we, to your point, we make it visible for ourselves in order to be able to make it visible to our partners, that it helps equalize and bring awareness to them in ways that serves us both. So I'm like
Yeah.
the things
And
that
I don't outsource anything related to the children or grandchildren. I mean, and everybody laughs about it. They all say, oh, if anything happens to mom, no one even knows where the doctors are. And it's true. My husband, I mean, he has no idea who the doctors are, the medicine, or any of that. So also when you're thinking about like sharing the load and what you want to get off of your plate, decide what you want to get off of your plate, just like you would at work. Who would you hire for this position? Or could you just hire a cleaning service? Like how can you get it off of your plate or off of both of your plates and let them do it that way? But if it's something that you care about, like I want this done a certain way, then do it.
yeah, I focus a lot on the language, focus on what's your highest and best use. When you are clear
Mm-hmm.
on what your highest and best use mean is, it essentially is saying like you are doing the things that are best aligned with your skill set, with your
Yeah.
interest, or to your point, Lisa, the things that you can inherently that you're just committed to controlling. And that matters too, because I don't want my husband mucking in grocery planning because I'm picky. I'm a very picky
Yeah.
eater. So I don't need him there. I'm very organized. I'm thinking about the entire week and who's going to be where and what's practical in ways that he probably never realistically would. So it makes sense for me to own that. That's my highest and best use. But it's not being and mucking in our budget. Like he is in
Yeah.
finance. He loves that stuff. He's good at it. So I think that to your point, like being able to own that space matters just as much because it means that we're optimizing our energy as a team. And sometimes that means getting rid of things that neither of us are good at. If we don't enjoy it and we're not good at
Yeah.
it, there's probably someone out there that is.
Yeah. And I see you as the CEO then, and he's the CFO
Yeah.
in that relationship.
Yes,
Yeah.
very much so. I think he would
Yeah.
probably agree too. Um,
And the CEO does a lot. I mean, you don't really realize what a CEO does until the CEO is not there. It's a lot because they've slowly over time just created this whole big list of things that they do. And most women are the CEO of their households.
Yep, agreed. So I want to touch really quick on the control thing that you just mentioned
Okay.
because many of our listeners right now would identify with being perfectionist and needing to feel like things are in control. And sometimes it could be because they feel pressure on and put it on themselves. Sometimes because they feel expectations and pressure from other people. Maybe it's because they're comparing themselves. There are a lot of reasons to that. How do the women listening to us now, Lisa, practically shift out of those like perfectionist, control heavy tendencies, particularly relative to the housework?
Yeah. So if you are a brain surgeon, please be a perfectionist. Other than that, we have a lot of room to not be a perfectionist. And I guess I was kind of blessed with the fact that I was never able to be perfect. Like the expectation was that I would get straight A's and I never did. I had A's and B's and I always had this floating C. Oh, that drove my mom crazy because it would be in science one semester and then it would move to history and then it would move because I wasn't able to be good enough to have A's and B's in everything. We realized later I had dyslexia and so it was really hard for me to like keep all the details straight. If I could answer verbally, A plus, but if I had to write it, we were in trouble. So anyway, I was not able to achieve this level of perfection and at a young age. And I knew that all the way through, couldn't really spell very well, had these deficiencies that I tried to cover up. And as I was getting into my 40s, I would just say to people, well, I'm just not a perfectionist. Perfection isn't a thing. And it's true. Perfection isn't a thing. If you still think it is, it's not a thing. Perfection is not a thing. And you can work to be close to perfect in one or two areas, but not in every area of your life. So perfection isn't a thing. And I had given that up for a long time. But I realized I was so depleted in my 40s. I just kept saying, well, I'm not a perfectionist, as in, I don't care. Like, it's not a thing. So I don't even know why you're striving to attain that. And I'd kind of like given up on doing things with my best effort. And then in my mid 40s, I was like, well, I don't really like this very much. I don't like this not being a perfectionist thing. Like I'm not less than everybody else because perfection isn't a thing. And I realized, you know what I am? I'm a woman of excellence. Like I bring everything to the table that I have to bear. I bring my best effort. I bring my best ideas. I bring my best energy. I will overcommit sometimes, but I will give you everything I have, but it's never going to be perfect. And when I replace perfection with excellence, I realized, ooh, it's a much different energy of like, I'm going to try my best, knowing that it's never going to be perfect when I'm done, but I will have given my best with no regrets. And the secondary thing that I realized happened after I was living this way for a while is until I made this shift to excellence, even though I knew that perfection wasn't a thing, I was always judging myself on a perfectionistic standard that was unattainable. I missed the mark. I missed the mark. I missed the mark. I'm bad. I can't hit it. And then I look at everybody else and you're bad too, because you can't hit it either. And I was judging based on this perfection. But once I really changed to being a woman of excellence and I was trying my best and giving my excellent effort, I gave myself grace because I knew there was no such thing as perfection. And so I did the best I could with what I had. So I gave myself grace. And slowly over time, I started giving everyone else grace around me. I don't judge anyone ever anymore. And I used to judge everyone. And that was the shift. Changing from perfection to excellence. It's a slow change, but once you make the change, man, inside you just feel good all the time. And when people judge me now, it's like I'm rubber and you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you. Like I don't even take it. Like I used to at first be like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm supposed to be perfect. No, I'm going to be excellent. Like I struggled with it. And now I'm like, whatever, you do you. And I just move on. Like I just keep moving on.
Gosh, how freeing.
Yeah, it's so
Like
freeing.
so much baggage that you were just able to shake out by
Yeah.
continuing to commit to that mantra of positioning. I talk a lot about B minus work. So I am a
Yes.
struggling quote unquote perfectionist. I there's so much that I need to sit on myself, Lisa, with what you just said. So I think that there's some paradigm shifting that might happen in me as a result of this conversation. But that coming from A plus world, coming from a place where I always needed things to be in control and often the one that needed to control them in order to make sure their standards were high. I've also just appreciated that not everything deserves that level of energy, that there are a
Yeah.
lot of things in my life that a B minus is more than enough on. And that like recognizing what deserves my A plus energy versus what really is a B minus and below has helped me release some of that handcuff pressure as well. Cause it's like, no, that that thing just doesn't deserve the
Yeah.
full me.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard you say that. And I was like, oh, yes, that's right in alignment with what I'm saying. But
Mhm.
also, though, sometimes when you say B minus, do you think like, oh, but I could do A if I wanted to?
Oh, always. I mean, there's always
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
if I wanted to, yes, but it's by being very clear on the swim lanes. And this is why I
Hmm.
start my clients with determining what it is they value. And I don't necessarily
Yeah.
mean their personal values, things like integrity and love. Those are important, but I mean what it is that you actually value your time, energy, and money being put towards. So, as an example, a lot of people will say, I value family. And it's like, okay, well, what does family really mean to you? What's the double click
Right.
on that?
Right.
For me, it's I want to have my boys be my adult friends. I care about relationships beyond just their 18 years here. For one of my clients, she values having family dinners every night. For another client, she values raising very Christian kids. It just
Hmm.
takes a different form for all of us. But
Yeah.
by verifying and feeling, very confident in what it is that you value, it allows you to be like, yes, that's an A plus, and like the rest of it is just noise. Like I don't
Yeah.
need my laundry put away every night. I do delegate a lot. My house manager's here often. Right now, in my laundry basket, I have clothes from this entire week that she's folded and are waiting for me to put them away. That's a control thing for me. I'm not willing to let her put them away because I have things in a particular order. But I don't need that to be an A
Yeah.
plus. Like it can sit there because sleep is a value of mine because health is a value of mine. Like that can
Yeah.
be a B minus. I'll take care of that this weekend. So I think it all goes back to and is oriented around what it is you value and whether or not
Hmm.
it's a B minus is even worth it, to be honest. Like that's the ceiling for a bunch of stuff that aren't valued.
Yeah. Love
So
it.
last like book related Lisa heavy material question I have for you before the lightning round questions is you talk about the specific language you use, Lisa, is the ultimate antidote to overwhelm is planning.
Hmm.
And planning is a turnoff for a lot of type B people, but I am here to plus one that a million times over because I believe planning also gives you the freedom to know when you can say yes and when you can say no. So I guess it's a little bit of a slog for some people that are not accustomed to it, but there's so much power in it. So for the women listening, Lisa, who feel absolutely buried right now, what's the very first planning shift that she could make this week to start climbing out of some of that quicksand?
Okay, I'll try to be quick on this. So I am doing my dissertation on perspective memory. And so perspective working memory is part of your executive function, and your executive function includes organization, planning, getting started, task management, all these different executive functions. And working memory is you actually listening to this podcast or cooking dinner or writing a report, like you are using your brain to work on a project. Perspective memory is the tasks that come at you while you're doing working memory. So a thought, hey, I got to pick up milk on the way home, or a kid interrupts you, I need help with homework, or the dryer buzzer goes off and you have to decide if you're going to go get things out of the dryer or not. So while you're doing working memory, all these perspective memory tasks come at you, and you make a decision to either stop what you're doing and handle the perspective memory task, or continue what you're doing and hope that you remember the thing that just interrupted you when you're done doing what you're doing and not forget it. So one of the things I learned myself personally 20 years ago is that I just have index cards all over my house, in my car, in my purse, everywhere. And whenever I have any of these perspective memory thoughts or interruptions, I write them down, and then I keep doing whatever I was doing. And when I'm done with whatever I was doing, I look at the note card and I say, okay, can that wait till Sunday? Because one of the things that we do is that we are so overwhelmed with what we need to get done. And typical productivity people will say, if you can do it in 2 to 3 minutes, you should just do it instead of putting it on a list. Ladies, stop it, because everything can be done in 2 to 3 minutes. So then you end up doing 22 to 3 minute tasks instead of writing the report because, well, I'll just do it. I'll just do it. I'll just do it. So this is a big thing I learned, to write everything on index cards and then decide if it could wait until Sunday. And if it could wait until Sunday, it had to wait until Sunday. And that was the Sunday basket. So then on Sunday, you go through all these tasks. I know you're already thinking, I can't handle all these tasks on Sunday. You can, trust me, because when you get to Sunday, you'll realize half of them were crap and you should have never done them anyway. But in the moment, you will do them to get them off your list so you don't have to write them down when really you shouldn't have done them at all. Or something else will have happened which makes them irrelevant and they don't need to be done. That's about half. The other ones, yeah, you've got to buckle down and get them done, but then you can task stack them and do like all the calls, all the emails, all the calendars all at once, and you do it much faster. So when you do the Sunday basket that way, you start to delay all these interruptions to the weekend and allows you to get more stuff done during the week. Now, planning is a higher level executive function. You can't plan while you're using your working memory or while prospective memory is vying for the working memory attention. And what most of us do once our feet hit the ground is we are on our day and we are trying to get something done and we are dealing with all the interruptions all day long. And it is exhausting. It is so many decisions. It is exhausting. And we can't step back and plan. So when you do the Sunday basket, you get all the tasks done. Then you stop and you look at your week next week and you plan out how you're going to spend all of your time and you allow for interruptions and when the tasks are going to get completed.
I love that. So I use Stephen Covey's language a lot because my boys are in a leadership-based school. So the language, like you put first things first, you are, to your point,
Yes.
you're sitting in the working memory and whatever that you're doing at the time. So if it's the report, you're putting that first as opposed to letting all this noise interrupt you. And that's, you're actually preserving your energy that way too. It's not just, it's helping you be at your best for sure, but it's helping you put your energy towards the things that are going to get you the biggest results. And I have a client right now who's just completely overwhelmed by all the stuff her boss gives her because he's got a million ideas too. And I know a lot of my listeners can probably relate to that. But that's what I keep telling her, Lisa, is like simmer on it. Like he probably has all these ideas, but that doesn't mean that all of them have merit and need to turn into an actual to do. So like revisit those in 2 weeks to make sure that they still have merit and should move forward. It's a longer but slightly different way of talking about the Sunday basket. But thanks for bringing that concept to life for people. I know that's a big part of Organized 365 as well, and I'll ask you to explain that here in a second. But first, let's move on to the lightning round questions and knock those out. The first one: what's your go-to stress busting activity?
Organizing a space or planning.
Oh my gosh. Me too. Me too. That is one of my top. Like it's so cathartic.
Yeah. And I think I would always, when my kids were younger, I would always reorganize the laundry room or the storage room. And I think I picked those two spaces, number one, because nobody cared and nobody knew what I was doing. But number two, like the storage room was kind of far away and the laundry room, I would always start laundry. So it kind of like drowned out the rest of the family. I was like, I'm not here. I'm not here. I can't hear you.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. What's the last book or podcast you loved?
Okay, so I read or listen to a lot of audiobooks and I love anything presidential or the White House. So this one was really good. I read it a couple months ago. It's called Five Presidents by Clint Hill. And he was a Secret Service agent. So he tells you about five different presidents that he covered and he was there during the JFK assassination.
Oh, I would very much enjoy that. I'm also an audiobook person. I will be adding that to my list.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I ask that question more for myself than I do the list.
Yeah, that's right.
Like I just yesterday I was recording another one. I'm like, ooh, that's a good one. I wrote that one down and added it to Libby too.
Yeah,
okay.
that's good.
If you could wave a magic wand, what task would you eliminate forever?
I kind of have eliminated ironing because I just don't do it anymore. Meal planning and shop, like everything meal related. If people could just bring me food for the rest of my life, that would be amazing. I'll even do the dishes. I don't care. Just bring me the food.
I get it. The decision fatigue is like maxed out there. I've started using AI to tell me like I've put in my list and said, here's what I love. Every week, just choose three for me because I can't.
No, just bring it to me. Just bring it already cooked, ready to eat. I don't want to have to go get it.
Yep, I get that. Okay, Lisa, last but not least, how do people reach you and can you like give the brief overview on Organized 365?
Yeah, so the company is called Organized 365. It's organized365.com. There's also a podcast, Organized 365. And basically, it's like a school. It's like a school for household managers. So all of the products we have three components. Like the Sunday basket has a physical box that actually comes to your house. It has a course because I'm a teacher. I'm going to teach you how to use it. And then it has weekly co-working time so that you and your community of friends, you can do your household management together. And all the products we have are like that.
Oh, I love that. That's so creative. Very creative. Well, I also just want to applaud you on your latest book, Escaping Quicksand. So again, I will link this in the show notes, but the title I think is so relevant and pertinent to this community. Escaping Quicksand: 10 Steps to Overcome the Overwhelm of Modern Home Life. So, Lisa, congratulations again on that. Thank you so much for coming onto the life management system. And listeners, friends, it's been real. If nobody's told you lately, you're doing a great job. You've got this, Mama. And if this conversation resonated, especially the part about capacity, working memory, and constantly feeling interrupted, you're going to want to listen to episode 73: Why Managing Your Energy Matters More Than Managing Your Time. Because here's the truth: you can build all the systems in the world, but if you don't understand your energy patterns, you're still going to feel buried. So go queue up episode 73 next. It will completely change how you think about productivity and performance.